What is going on, guys? It's Modded Warfare here. Welcome back to another PS4 and PS5 jailbreak news update. And we have a big one to cover here in this video, starting with obviously the biggest piece of news that has come out recently, which is the fact that we may have a new kernel exploit that was just revealed by TheFlow. And this is coming from his LinkedIn page, where 5 days ago, I guess this was missed for 5 days, but 5 days ago anyway, we got this post from TheFlow himself saying, "My Christmas present from PlayStation," and it shows a screenshot from a reply sent from PlayStation to TheFlow on the HackerOne bug bounty program, and it says PlayStation rewarded TheFlow with a $10,000 bounty. The message is, "Hi Andy, thanks very much for the report. We have reproduced your findings and we've decided to rate the severity of this report as high and award you a $10,000 bounty. Thanks again." Now this is common. We've seen this in other reports where he's received $10,000 bounties, so it looks like this is legitimate. Now it's not showing up in HackerOne just yet, so if we go to the activity section in HackerOne, we do not see this report. So what we can tell though is that if we go to the policy and we look at the program statistics, the total bounties paid has gone up to 660,000, whereas previously it was at 650,000. And supposedly this reply was only 5 days ago, and a lot of these reports that have only just started showing up on HackerOne are usually 10 to 12 days old. So it's not really had enough time yet to show up in the activity section. So it looks like this is most likely legitimate here. So very exciting stuff indeed. Now at the moment, there's a lot of questions surrounding this. So firstly, how long is it going to take before this gets released? Probably won't be disclosed for another 3 to 6 months. Unfortunately, that just tends to be the way that this bounty program works with HackerOne, is that assuming TheFlow does request disclosure, and he has been very good about requesting disclosure for previous reports, so most likely it will be disclosed eventually. There's normally a wait time of about 3 to 6 months before PlayStation will eventually disclose it and reveal the report, and they may only do a partial disclosure, in which case not all the information is revealed, and therefore it takes longer for other developers in the scene like Sleirsgoevy or Spectre to kind of figure it out and make a working implementation. So it could be a while yet before we actually get access to this. However, this is the most exciting news we've had for a long time. We've been waiting over 2 years for a new jailbreak for the PS4, and of course we've been waiting a long time on PS5 as well. We've been stuck on 4.51 and lower, which is such an old firmware for the PS5 that there's not that many people who are actually running PS5s on that firmware. The jailbreak's not really accessible to a lot of people on the PS5 right now, because when people could buy PS5s that were on those older firmwares, we had the chip shortage, we had COVID, we had scalping going on. It was really difficult to get one of these consoles unless you had a lot of money to throw around. So anyway, this is definitely exciting. Now in terms of the questions that we have surrounding this right now, one of the big ones of course is going to be, what firmwares does this work on? At the moment, 8.40 and 11.02 are the latest firmwares for the PS5 and the PS4, and we've not seen a new update yet. So it's possible that this is delayed a little bit, and that 8.40 and 11.02 have already patched this vulnerability, and that's why this is now being rewarded, and then the report will then be closed. Or it's also possible that maybe 8.40 and 11.02 haven't patched the vulnerability yet. So the way that we'll be able to tell is that if Sony releases a new update for the PS4 or PS5 in the coming days, that will be a good indication that 11.02 and 8.40 are still vulnerable to this. If they don't release a new update soon, then they've probably already patched it in 8.40 and 11.02, in which case 11.0 and 8.20 will be the highest firmwares that will be vulnerable to this kernel exploit. The other thing we don't know is if this just applies to the PS4 or PS5, or if it affects both consoles. Best case scenario, it works on PS4 and PS5, but we don't know at this point. It could just be for PS4, it could just be for PS5. We don't have any way of knowing right now. Again, if an update comes out and it's only for PS4, for example, that could give us a bit of an indication that it would only be for PS4, or vice versa. If an update comes out and it's only for PS5, then that would indicate that this is probably just for PS5. So when this eventually does get released, what will that mean? Well, we can chain it with some existing WebKit or userland exploits that we already have. So in terms of the PS4, we already have this PSFree WebKit exploit that works up to 9.60. Assuming this kernel exploit works up to at least 11.0 on the PS4, then we could get a jailbreak on 9.60 because we could chain this kernel exploit with the PS3 WebKit exploit and get a full jailbreak for PS4. And WebKit exploits are more easy to come by. You know, userland exploits generally are more easy to come by than kernel exploits. So, you know, we're in a much better position for just getting some kind of new WebKit exploit for PS4 that could then be chained with this to get a full jailbreak on 11.0 in future. So that's definitely a possibility. In terms of PS5, we have the BD jailbreak, which is also from TheFlow, that works up to 7.61 on the PS5. That's the userland exploit that could be chained with this kernel exploit if it affects the PS5. And then that could give us a jailbreak up to 7.61 on the PS5. It would be a partial jailbreak. We might be able to get to the same level we're at with 4.51 with the ability to run game backups and fake packages and trainers and all of that kind of stuff. If something like the lib hijacker could be implemented on 7.61 as well, like what Sleirsgoevy's been able to do on 4.51 and lower. So yes, that's basically what we could expect if this gets released. Pretty much a jailbreak on PS5 up to 7.61 and a full jailbreak on the PS4 up to 9.60 and eventually 11.0 or 11.02 on the PS4 if a new WebKit exploit is discovered that could be chained with it. So yeah, that's what we have right now from TheFlow. Really exciting stuff. Biggest piece of news we've had for a long time. So we do have a couple of other updates to go through. So back on the 25th and 26th of December, Chameleon posted about the PS3 WebKit exploit, that the author wants some feedback about the WebKit exploit's performance on the PS4 and to test the following page and report back how many seconds it took to run, as well as people on PS5s, firmware 1 to 5.50 can test. And thanks a lot for PS4 tests made. So yeah, anyway, essentially this is the PS3 WebKit exploit. It's been tested to see how much faster and more reliable it is at loading compared to the existing exploits. And if it is significantly better, it could be chained with the current exploits that we have on the PS4 and PS5 to get a better exploit implementation as a whole. So that's been worked on. We also have an update from Sleirsgoevy for the porting script, and this was just very recently over the past few hours to help it grab more offsets for porting the PS4 kernel stuff, the fake package enabler, to work on the older firmwares. Right now it only works on 4.03, 4.50 and 4.51 for running PS4 fake packages and PS5 game backups through Itemzflow. It requires this, and it only works on 4.03, 4.50 and 4.51. And we haven't had an update to this script in a long time, but now it's been updated to grab more offsets, which can hopefully help this get ported to older firmwares so that people on 3.x firmwares don't have to update to 4.03 to use it. They can get native support for the firmware that they're already on. That would be ideal. So there's been some improvements there. Also, we've got Cyber1000 or CYB1K, who is working on backporting the Wolverine game that was leaked from Insomniac as part of that big Insomniac leak. There was a PC build that was leaked of the game, and there was also the PS5 build that was running in dev kits and test kits. However, now CYB1K is working on backporting it so that it can run from Itemzflow as a game backup so that we could run it on our jailbreakable PS5s, which would be pretty cool. Why should people on PC have all the fun? We could hopefully be able to run the game as well on our jailbreakable PS5, so that will be good. And I believe CYB1K is also working on patching some of the PS5 games that are not working right now, some of the game backups that are not working in Itemzflow. CYB1K is working on fixing those and getting more of those working, so we'll get more working game backups for the PS5. Now, speaking of PS5 game backups, there are a few things I want to go over here with Itemzflow. I do have a full tutorial already that shows you guys how to install and run your PS5 game backup, so you can check that out. I'll leave it linked below. There are some issues that people are still having, like some people are renaming the game folders, and if the game folder of the game dump has symbols in the file name, like apostrophes and quotes and stuff like that, then it will not work. So you need to make sure that you don't have any kind of symbols in the file name. Just have it as a normal alphanumeric name. You could just have the title ID -app, which is how I name them. And then that way there's no issues. So make sure you do that, because some of these dumps that are getting released are having the file names with symbols in them and then they're not loading. That's one issue. Some people are also having issues deleting games that they've transferred over to the hard drive, and then they don't want them anymore and they're not able to delete them to free up some space. You do need to use FTP right now. There's not a way to delete those from Itemzflow. So you are going to have to just, log in with FTP. There's an FTP server that runs when you run ETA hen. So you can just log in with FTP, go to the data folder, find your game dump folder and delete it. And then just wait for it to delete all the files because it can take quite a while. It may look like it's stuck for a while, but eventually it will delete them all. And then finally, there's people who are trying to make game dumps that are playable. You cannot do so just with Itemzflow on its own right now. That's the plan in the long term, but in the short term, Itemzflow right now, the current build, only allows you to copy the game files. It does not decrypt the executables or the modules. You have to do that separately. I will be releasing a full tutorial that shows you guys how to actually make your own PS5 game backups from a retail game, and that will show you the full process on how to actually get a playable game dump. So anyway guys, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and once again, I'll hopefully see you guys in the next video.